when you're in a group where it escalates. Like,
Yeah.
you even feel it when you're a comedian, when you have like a big crowd. There's like, you feel this surge of fucking energy from them.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's real. Like, you feel like you could crush a building with your hands. It's like, the energy is really like, there's a difference between performing for 7 people and performing for the crowds you do. I'm sure you feel like a fucking, you know, it's like, it's kind of like what dictators feel. And maybe,
Well, you feel like an orchestrator, honestly. You feel like you're like a conductor. Like you're just kind of like getting out of your own way and trying to like navigate it and bring everybody together with the jokes and put the bits together correctly and have this wave all come together. That's what you do. You're trying to get out of your own way, really.
but you feel an energy from them
you
that sort
feel
of invigorates you.
You get excited for sure, but the goal is always to perform the best you can, which if you're thinking about that energy, you're fucking up.
Right.
Like you really can't think about that. You really got to think about the bits. You got to be engaged, almost like these are individuals and you're talking to them almost one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get in your own way.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in your own way. Like, you're just trying to do the best with the moment. And you're almost like a passenger as much as you're the driver.
Maybe you've gotten really used to it, because whenever I do big crowds, I feel like I feel powerful.
Maybe you should never be a dictator.
Yeah. I feel like jacked up. Like I feel like their energy, and I feel like just real jacked up, ready for, like, if we were like, if I was like, you know, got a standing ovation, I was like, you know what, let's go fucking trash this casino. Like, I feel that like murderous kind of energy. There's a thin line.
Yeah. Well, people that are in control of large groups of people, it's like we were talking about with the sex cults.
It's intoxicating.
Yeah.
It's an elixir.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, humans are not supposed to have that kind of control over that many people.
Yeah.
And if they did, it was usually like they were the greatest warrior and the chief of the tribe, and there's only 150 people.
Yeah.
And you knew that guy, he knows where all the poison plants are, he knows how to get water, he's fucking got the most scars on his face, he survived.
Yeah.
And now it's the guy with the microphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes they're morons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know they're morons, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
Like, as long as the moron knows they're a moron, I think we're probably better off.
You do a good job of that, because you've risen to a point where there's a large group, whether you're performing live or whether you're doing this, and you temper yourself well. You keep yourself humble and down to earth. That's not easy.
You got to stay normal as much as you can. I think one of the ways that I do that, I mean, I always talk about this ad nauseum, but it's working out really hard. Like, I brutalize myself so that, like, in cold plunges and saunas and shit like that. Put yourself through difficult shit so that, like, you have a humility, because you're constantly, like, feeling your weakness and your breaking point. You're constantly exhausted and pushing through. You're constantly, like, reevaluating your capabilities. Like, if you push yourself to the point of exhaustion, every time you're doing that and you know you have like 30 seconds left in the round and you want to quit, but you don't quit, you're pushing yourself past this very difficult moment. And in that, you get humbled, because you're like, oh my God, I'm such a bitch. And then you sit down and like you get exhausted and you wait for that minute to get up and then you do it again. And if you could force yourself into doing that, you are very, like, obviously confronted with your limitations, obviously confronted with your weaknesses and like where your willpower is and your character. The most willful person, the most disciplined person is still pretty fucking weak. Still pretty weak. You can only sprint for like how long? Yeah. You know, like you don't have much in you. You know,
so you're constantly confronted with human limitations, and that sort of informs your humility.
I think there's something to that. I really do. I think there's something that people that have experienced too much comfort and no discomfort at all, and no testing of their boundaries physically, because people equate testing of your boundaries physically with being like a meathead. But I think it's much more mental than people want to give it credit, because I think in overcoming your will to quit, because there's a strong urge to quit when you're working out really hard, a strong urge to quit when you're in the sauna, it's 15 minutes in, you got 10 more minutes, you're like, fuck this. There's a strong urge to quit. But in overcoming that strong urge to quit, it builds a mental fortitude, and it builds an understanding of your limitations, not of your strengths, really. Because you're not really impressed with your strengths if you can only do 3 minutes in the fucking cold plunge. You're not impressing yourself. At the end of the day, you can't wait to get out of that fucking thing because you're weak, right? So you know. So you can't believe you're something special. you're not something special. You almost froze to death.
That makes a lot of sense. I get that. Like that hits all the way home. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think everyone, and it shouldn't just be the kind of workouts I do. Do yoga, go on fucking long hikes, climb hills, do something physical that humiliates you, or excuse me, humbles you. Something that where you know that you have limitations. That's why like martial arts people, jujitsu people, they're some of the nicest, friendliest people ever.
Yeah,
They're
fighters,
always
yeah.
exhausted. They're always getting their ass handed to them in the gym.
Yeah.
Like even the best of the best are humble.
Yeah.
You know, in many ways.
A little bit in comedy too. You know, joke
Fuck
doesn't
yeah.
work. You get humble. You're like, oh, you think you're better than you are. Then you have a bad show, and you're like, yeah.
Sure. And if you really think you're better than the audience or you're better than the material, you're the best. You can be confronted with reality real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.